Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
It's week 2 of the Bob Sullivan Show 4th birthday party, and we continue it with a nice chat with old friend of the show, Jameison Welsh.
Welcome back to the Bob Sullivan Show here on latenightsportsradio.com. I am joined by Jameison Welsh of the Believe the Hype, NBA.com, and a numerous amount of other websites and radio stations. Jameison, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Bob. Thanks for always having me, man. Definitely appreciate it. Happy to be along for the ride.
We've had, I think you got on board in about towards the end of year 1 of my show. Is the worst moment you've ever been a part of in the Bob Sullivan experience?
I don't know if there's a worst moment. I remember you're back in the old days, your account would get suspended from time to time for various reasons.
Yes.
Like you would say you were wild or reckless. I forgot exactly what it was, but I know that your account would be suspended. So, once I saw that, I was like, damn, that can't happen because you can't, your brand can't be suspended. Your show can't be on the snide. So I remember that. But for the most part, it's been a lot of mostly good memories, mostly really good memories, not a whole lot of bad ones.
Yeah, I don't think you were involved with it, but Ray Harris was involved in the suspension episode. I'm not going to bring up exactly what was brought up, but when Blog Talk Radio suspended my show for 3 days for explicit material when 10 people complained about it, that was probably the worst moment of my show. And it's surprising that my show is still going after a moment like that.
Yeah, when 10 people complain, that means you did something wrong. I mean, one person complains, all right, 2, all right, but 10, you did something wrong. Yeah,
I would bring that up, but it might get, actually, what happened was I started talking about, stuff that happened in Vegas, which is ironically where you're from. And, Ray at that time I believe, was living in Vegas. So I believe that's why the topic of conversation came up. But in your time being on my show and, the Bob Sullivan experience, is there any complaints you have about the Bob Sullivan experience? Twitter, the show, anything like that?
Honestly, I have no complaints because you always did it your way, and you were always on time. A lot of people, and you're always prepared. Like, you know how to run a show. A lot of people didn't know how to do that. A lot of people weren't as punctual as you were. So I've always appreciated you working what you do. So I have no complaints at all.
Do you find it funny that this is going to, it's my 4-year birthday for my show, so I'm going to have some complaints for some people. I always do on my birthday, but did you, when you've done shows in the past, do you find it funny when people, do 3 hours of preparation for a show? Do you ever find that funny?
It just depends on the situation. Everybody's situation is different for their shows. So I don't really find it funny. I just feel that everybody's show is different. Everybody has different situations. So I never knock anyone else's hustle or situation at all.
Do you, when me and you, when you used to, on the Opinionation, I used to just kind of, when you asked me to be on your show, I'd kind of just show up and do your show. And I don't know if that's the same way you do my show, but that's what I expect from my guests. I don't expect a formula or anything like that. I kind of just expect, I just show up, they just show up, and I just kind of expect somebody to just a basic conversation. Did you ever, what was the most you ever prepped for my show?
Well, when I come on your show, honestly, there's no really special preparation. The only time I've really like had to really, really prepare for something is like when I go on live radio for the first time. But for the most part, like I've never been intimidated or ever been I had to do this, I had to do that. No, like, it was honestly just do what we do. Like, it was just, just go on and talk. I mean, when you're, and I don't want to toot my own horn because I'm not that kind of person, but when you're good, you don't need to do certain things. Like, and one of those things is, have to get nervous, get prepared, and take notes. And no, I've never really taken notes to do a show. Like, I've never done that. Everything's been just freely spirited, and I mean, I know my stuff for the most part, so I just do what I do and hope it's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will give you this. Like, I will give you this. Actually, I won't give you this. I absolutely respect you for this because you, I believe, were the first person to ever ask to be on my show. And it was after a Jabari Davis interview. I think you were just like, hey, when can I be on the show? And I was like, you know what? You're on. You're in. Let's do this. And, once we did the show for the first time, we never looked back. I mean, it was always a good time. And actually, you were the first person to ever host. I tried that thing where I tried to have somebody else host my podcast for me because I didn't think I could host it myself. You were the first person to ever host the Bob Sullivan Show without being Bob Sullivan.
I try my best. I try my best.
Did you, when you look back over the 4 years, did you ever have an uncomfortable moment on the Bob Sullivan Show?
Not really. I mean, it takes a lot for me to be uncomfortable. There was nothing really out of hand or really crazy or anything. So personally, I never really felt, bothered or anything by anything you did. It just never really felt that way. Because if I ever felt uncomfortable, I just wouldn't have been on the show. Like,
I feel like you, EJ, and Jabari were all kind of, I don't know how to put it, like, I guess, like a father figure, a big brother type of thing for me, because you guys always kind of looked out for me when I would say something stupid, whether it be Twitter. I still do it, say stupid stuff on Twitter, or whether I say, you kind of harness me back on an Opinionation show, EJ's show. You, EJ, Jabari were always kind of there for me as far as knowing how far to go and to not ruin what I might have. So I do appreciate that from you guys.
Not a problem. It's a situation where you want to see somebody do good and you see the potential there. So you just want to make sure they don't do nothing crazy to mess it up, because a lot of people mess up their situation before they even get a situation.
Over the last 4 years, who do you think the biggest celebrity has, the celebrity that's taken the biggest fall from something they've said on Twitter or social media is?
Man, that's a tough one. There's a lot of people who either lost their job or lost their career or just killed themselves. I mean, even just this year, Meek Mill tweeting about Drake not writing his rhymes pretty much ended his career. I mean, no one cares about Meek Mill anymore. Like, no one cares. No one pays any interest if no one cares about him or anything. So, that's one guy off top that comes to mind that kind of just killed his whole situation off Twitter.
See, I never understood that whole Meek Mill Drake thing. Now I do. Now I understand why it's a big deal. But like, do you feel like it's a good? Do you feel like Meek Mill is kind of a Good Charlotte type of situation where he's just going to fall off the face of the earth like Good Charlotte once we found out Good Charlotte wasn't writing their own music?
I wouldn't say fall off the face of the earth, but it's really difficult to go at the most popular guy in one industry and lose very badly and then kind of regroup after that. I just don't see it. I just don't. As
far as looking at 2016 going forward. I mean, this is one of the benefits of my show, Birthday, is that you can kind of go into 2016 or looking at the year ahead. What do we have to look forward to in 2016, or do we have anything to look forward to in 2016?
Well, there's always something. There's always something that kind of brings us by surprise and, brings us out of nowhere. Honestly, I have no clue. I kind of can't wait to see. But the one thing I do think you will see is I think you'll see the Warriors repeat as NBA champions. I think you will see that. They're just that good. And they have a team that no one else can really beat. I mean, there's a lot of teams that can throw a couple, challenges at them, but for the most part, we're not going to see anybody beat them. And other than that, I don't see. You're going to see a lot of. The one thing you will see is with the election coming up, you're going to see a lot of people think and act like they know politics, but they really, really don't. So you're going to see a lot of annoying political tweets and Facebook posts.
Do you think that Kevin Durant becomes a Warrior in 2016?
No, I don't think we see that. It's a possibility, and I've heard it for the last 2 years. I just don't think so because they don't need him. Like, it's not like they need him. It would almost be a situation where that could kind of mess with their flow, even though, who knows what would happen. I mean, that would be crazy to even think about, but they don't need him. Like, they're good. Their pieces fit just the way they are. Like, they don't need a guy that, you got to force feed and, be good with. I mean, they're good where he's at. Kevin Durant may go to Washington or L.A. or New York. I think he may leave OKC. I really think he may. Because it's just not going to work there. Like, honestly, it's just not going to work there. It's not. Like, with Billy Donovan there, first-year coach, expectations of being in the West, it's just not going to happen. They're a piece away from being where they need to be at, but I don't know if they realize they're a piece away from where they need to be at. If that's the case, it's not going to happen for them.
I feel like the Warriors or the Thunder are like they're where they would need to be if the Warriors weren't in place. If that makes sense. Like obviously the Spurs are probably the biggest threat to the Warriors, but I feel like the Thunder would be that team. Like, they would be that team with Durant and Westbrook and Cantor and Ibaka. They would be that team if the Warriors hadn't perfectly assembled the perfect team and if the Spurs hadn't perfectly assembled the perfect team. Like, that's where the Thunder are at. They're just kind of in a bad spot of when they assembled their perfect team without Harden, if that makes sense. Do you agree with that?
It makes a little sense. It does make some sense. But also, you got to understand this, too, as well. When it comes down to it, man, your window's only so wide open for so long. And in sports in general, not just in basketball or football or baseball, but sports in general, you never know what's going to happen in the future with injuries and trades and other teams getting better and other players taking the next step. That your window, if you have a window, you better take advantage of it. LeBron's Heat teams, they took advantage of their window and they won a couple rings. A couple other teams, the Warriors are taking advantage of their window right now. You just never know you never know how long your window is open until it's not open anymore. Look at the Clippers. The Clippers have been on year 4 of this situation, and they're just not really good. Like, they're an okay team. They're the 4th seed in the West, and no one has them getting past the second round. No one has them beating the Warriors, Spurs, or Thunder. No one does, and that's just how it is.
Would you take the looking at the Clippers, like, everybody thought once Doc Rivers took over, the window opened way back up. And do you really buy that, Doc Rivers is a good coach, but do you really buy that he's just this awesome coach that, he won in Boston. I mean, it's like anybody that wins in Boston is considered a god when they don't really necessarily.
Which is kind of crazy. But the reason why Doc is loved so much because he's a good person. Like, people love being around Doc. He's a guy that people life being around. They like sharing stories with Doc. They love, just being around him. They love that. They love him being with him. He's a good guy. He's a nice guy. He's a very nice guy, and a lot of people around the league love him. But he can't coach X and O's to save his life. He can be a really good locker room guy. He can manage the locker room well, but X and O's not his thing. Not his thing. So he gets exposed when you need to make those X's and O's and those adjustments. That's not really his thing. So when he has to do that, he doesn't look too sharp in doing so. But to his credit, he does have a ring, even though Tom Thibodeau was on his staff and he had 3 motivated Hall of Famers on his roster. So it's not that difficult to do so. The one thing about Doc Rivers is this. His GM skills are even worse than his coaching skills. So
yes.
That's his biggest issue. His GM skills kind of killed the situation. So we'll see. I mean, honestly, I'm not a big fan of what he does and whatnot. But their situation, honestly, when Chris Paul choked away Game 5 in OKC a couple years ago, that was the end of that chapter. Like, that was the end of that. Once that happened, that was kind of over with that, with that run, with that team. That was their best chance to ever get somewhere. That was it. They go up 3-2 going home. That was their chance, and they didn't take advantage of it. And that's it.
A couple more things before I let you go. As far for the birthday show, when I've always had as being a Knicks fan, I believe we talked about this, but I always had a problem with, obviously Stephen A. Smith is a blowhard and he wants to get ratings and whatnot for ESPN First Take, but we discussed when it happened, when they took Porzingis with the 4th pick, that that the Knicks had nothing to lose at that point. Like, Okafor, D'Angelo Russell, and Towns were already taken. Like, Boudier maybe sounded like a good pick, but how can you tell me, like, as a Knicks fan, can you tell me that the Knicks were in a bad spot taking Porzingis at that point? Like, was there anybody you could tell me they should have taken in that spot? They made the right pick, Bob. Because when we had this discussion early on, we discussed that they should have traded down. That was about it.
Right. Because I wasn't sold on Porzingis. I don't mess with personally, I don't mess with guys from overseas. Not my cup of tea when it comes to drafting that early. Like, when you want to draft guys overseas, I don't mind a late first round or second round pick. That's fine. But I don't like drafting Euros in the lottery, especially that high. I just can't do it. But I thought they could have traded down and got Justice Winslow or Stanley Johnson and had a much surefire pick. But Porzingis worked out for him, and you got to give him credit for it. And then I think lottery outside of a couple guys has been pretty good thus far. You've seen a lot of good flashes from a lot of guys. You're going to get a lot of good situations out of this draft class. But I will say this. The Knicks were in a situation where they really couldn't lose. Outside of picking Kaminsky at 4, they really couldn't lose because of the situation of the guys they had. Think about it like this. I mean, they have a situation where, all right, they pick a guy at 4, doesn't work out, they're still going to be bad. And they pick a guy at 4 and it works, everybody is proud of him. Like, there's no bad situation. They were good no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be like. It pains me that the East is actually pretty good this year because it's, if the East is horrible, the Knicks could possibly make the playoffs this year. But the way it is, the Knicks aren't going to make the playoffs because the East is pretty good as far as, Celtics are good, the Charlotte's good. Pretty much most of these teams are good in the Eastern Conference. It just sucks. And the Knicks aren't going to be in the playoffs, and Porzingis, we're not going to get to see him in the playoffs until at least next year. But do you see the Knicks getting, like, I don't even know if I want anything in the off season other than a first-round draft pick from the Knicks.
And
like, I don't know.
have,
There's really not there's not anything other than, I guess, Durant. That's all we have to hope for. And he wouldn't be a good fit.
My opinion about the Knicks is they should blow everything up. Keep Porzingis, get younger. I would trade Melo before he gets hurt, or gets up before he drops a couple of notches, because he's not the guy that's going to lead you to the promised land. He is the guy that's a name, and people will come see him, but he's not the guy that's going to win you a championship or get you to the conference finals. So if he's not that guy, you got to move him, and you got to move him quickly before he gets hurt and has a bad injury. Because if he has a bad injury, then you're stuck with him, and you got to trade him for a Derrick Rose kind of contract, and no one wants that contract. So my thing with Melo is I love Melo, I love him a lot, but you got to go and you get younger. You want to get younger as soon as possible. Get some picks, get some drafts, get some young guys, get some picks, and go from there. And then hope that a free agent or two will sign with you in the next 2 years and go from there. But having Melo on a team doesn't help you right now. It's a team that really gets you 30 or 35 wins, and that's about it.
Who do you think? Okay, LeBron has a ring, has 2 rings. Who do you think the best player from our generation is going to be that doesn't have a ring?
Wow, that's a good question. There's a big chance it's Kevin Durant. But we're looking at the way things are and whatnot. There's a chance it is. I mean, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. There's a solid chance it's Kevin Durant. There's also a big chance that it's also Dwight Howard. And when we look back at Dwight Howard, I know a lot of people don't like him. I understand that. But he's a guy that has a really good resume. He's done a lot of good things in this league. A lot of people don't like him for various reasons. I get that. And I'm not particularly fond of the guy myself, but his resume is pretty damn solid. So when you look at it and like, damn, okay, this guy has done this, and that, but he has no ring. Who knows what's going to happen in the latter part of his career. But right now it's looking kind of rough. I don't know. I don't know. So we'll see. But Melo will be in that conversation as well. Melo has a hell of a career as a guy that has a lot of accomplishments and whatnot. But right now, I would probably say I hope Kevin Durant gets one, because if he doesn't, it's going to get loud. The whispers are going to get louder and louder, especially if he approaches 10 years in the league. It's going to get louder and louder. So who knows what he decides to do. But it would not surprise me if it's Kevin Durant. But I'm going to go with Dwight Howard. I think Dwight Howard will be the best player of this era, who's really good before he got hurt. And he'll be the best player without a ring.
Okay. Best part of the Bob Sullivan Show that you've been a part of?
Honestly, being on you, man, like, you don't have any whole lot of requirements. You have a really good show, man. It's always fun. We talk about food and stuff, sports, vacations, all kinds of stuff. It's really good fun stuff, man. Yeah. I came up, when I was coming up in 2012-ish, I came on your show, man, 'cause I didn't have a lot of experience with the show. I'd always listen to podcasts at work. I had an accounting job that was very boring, so I was at a computer for 8 hours a day. All I did was listen to music and, text, girls and stuff. So that's why I found out about podcasts. I thought I was better than the people who were doing them. That's how I got started. Like, everyone wants to know how I got started. I got started because I worked a job that was very boring. I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I felt that I was better than everyone else doing them. Or I could do a better job than everyone else doing them. So that's how I started. And you were the first one to let me, come on your show and whatnot, and we went from there.
I was the first one to let America know that Jameison Welsh was better than me.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive.
Jameison, you are, I'm not being, you, normally I am sarcastic, but literally, I am not good. I like doing this, but I'm not good at it. I like doing it, but, I just like, I just like shooting the breeze. It's mostly just just having a good time. And, you have a good time, you know what you're talking about, and you're good at it. Somebody needs, you need, the Triple Threat podcast. That is a good time. It's a good show. And you guys know what you're talking about. That's what people need to listen to. Not, Glenn Beck spouting off his mouth about stuff he doesn't know about, just trying to be a shock jock.
Right.
I hope that was in agreeing with me. Not just saying right like Dr. Evil.
I understand. Well, I definitely appreciate it, man. I just do what I do. Whether I'm on the phone with you or anyone else or I'm in person, just do what I do, man. And that's that. Not more, not less.
Well, that'll do it for this section of the Bob Sullivan Show birthday podcast.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Thank you for listening to the Bob Sullivan Show 4th birthday party. Next up on the guest list, Mike Dyer.
I'm joined here from Boston, the one and only Mike Dyer. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
Good, Bob. How you doing? Really icy here, cold finally, but we're in survival mode. 3 months till it's nice out again.
Yeah, I don't mind the snow. I don't mind I don't mind the weather. I just mind the cold. The temperature is what kills me when I go outside.
See, to me, it's the lack of sunlight.
Especially when your car's outside.
Well, yeah, that's terrible. But yeah, to me, it's the lack of sunlight. If the sun just stayed up till 8 and it was really cold, I think I'd be in a better mood. But it's the fact the sun goes down at 4. It's horrible. It's terrible. Let's go to another subject so we're not miserable.
Well, looking at actually last night, Clee Anthony Early goes to the strip club, gets robbed, gets shot in the knee. This is the second Knicks player this year that's been robbed after going to a club. Is it time for the Knicks to ban going to strip clubs in New York City, or does the NBA need to look at putting security teams around their players?
I don't think you can tell your adult players where they can go at night. I feel like that's opening up like a kind of a slippery slope, so I don't think that's in play. But, yeah, I mean, I think this is really going to come down to the players. It's been decades they go out and put themselves in these situations, and I feel like they need to take advantage of what the NBA already offers in terms of security, or a lot of times with DUIs, they have the service where they come pick you up, and it comes down to player decision making. And I don't think you need widespread, sweeping changes. I just think you got to count on adults making adult decisions, and obviously he did not. So, yeah, I don't think there needs to be anything drastic done, but players need to start acting like they're in the NBA and no longer in college. We went about, there'd be an occasional incident here and there over the last, 10, really since the Allen Iverson. But now they're starting to pop up a little bit more strip club incidents and, off-court issues. Do you see this being a problem at all, or do you think this is just kind of a blue moon type of thing? I just think that it gets covered more now, right, than it did 15 years ago. I think people were doing the same stuff back in the day, just wasn't covered 24/7 news cycle or in real time on Twitter. So I really don't think it's an epidemic. I think the NBA is actually in a better position, player conduct-wise, than it was a little while back. So I don't think it's a huge deal. I think star players are actually, there's a lot of good guys kind of at the top of the heap. So I don't think there's anything crazy going on. The NFL to me seems to have the bigger issue, because whatever is going on in the NFL, whether it be what's going into their body or just their mentality, there seems to be a lot more violent crime there. The strip club stuff, I don't know. I feel like NBA players are going to go to strip clubs till the end of time, and if you try to stop it, that people under the age of 21 can't drink, it's still going to happen. So I don't think it's a huge developing deal. I think it's just business as usual. People are sometimes going to get jumped, and they should probably make better decisions. But
The Patriots are always under fire for something or other in the NFL. Finally, your boy Peyton Manning, something bad reported about him with the HGH. Right. Actually, if you're looking at this list, other than Peyton Manning's comeback, I mean, this is not a very good look for HGH. Like, I would not want, if I was HGH, I would not want to be associated with these names because it's not very impressive.
No, and remember in steroids, like, oh yeah, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and, you know, some of the home run guys use steroids. Then it was like, oh, Fernando Vina used steroids. It's like, well, he sucked. You know, he never hit home runs. It wasn't like steroids really helped him. I remember Manny Alexander was like one of the worst players I ever saw in the Red Sox, and he got caught with steroids in his car. So, yeah, steroids. I'm not a big. I don't think steroids are the Antichrist like a lot of people. Like I would say, all the steroid guys that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame should be in. So I don't think steroids make the biggest difference. I do think that it probably helps you recover from an injury. That's probably the biggest, especially HGH. So I think Manning did use them. I don't blame him for using them. But he probably needed to. He had 4 neck surgeries at the age of 35, 36. So if he wasn't going to try something like that, his career could have ended. He obviously didn't want that. He wanted to break the records. He wanted to try to win another ring. So he made that decision. I think it's insane that people think that this Manning, the fact that people are saying that Manning is very unlikely to have actually, you know, used HGH, even though there's proof that it went to his house, that's less likely than what Brady did, which we still don't even know if the balls were actually deflated because of the junk science and everything. I think that side of the story is much more interesting to me than whether or not Manning did it. Because I don't care if he did it. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. But I think it's pretty clear that he did do it. So it's weird. The media side of it's very interesting, how people are jumping to defend Manning.
Well, it's the arguments up for defense of Manning are stupid. Like, you know,
right.
like
I believe Peyton.
Well, it's like well, it's like the man. They act like the man has no vices. Like he would never do something so criminal, and it's like, you know, everybody has a moment of weakness. I mean, that's not even a moment of weakness. That's using something. Okay, it's illegal in the NFL, but there's no test for it. And number 2, it's not an illegal drug. It's not an illegal drug.
No.
I mean, it's something that's helping you, you know, further your career, which I can't really blame him for that. But the argument that he's just infallible and capable of doing something like that is insane.
Right. Think about it. There was no test for it. It made him $100 million with his Broncos contract. It allowed him to break every major single-season and career record there is. And he got really a 3-year run at trying to win a Super Bowl. He didn't win one, but he had a shot all 3 years. I mean, those were good Broncos teams. So how is that not worth it? Like, that is worth it. To me, again, I don't blame him one bit for trying it. I would have tried the same thing. I think most people would. I'm not, again, but I don't think people who use steroids are somehow. It's just it's a new version of cheating. Cheating's been going on in sports. It's like Ty Cobb would just clique people at second base and like end their careers back in the day or whatever. You know, this cheating's been going on since the beginning of time, and this is just the new age cheating.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things about my show before I let you get out of here. What is the best part? I think you've been on for about 2.5 years now, on and off. What is the best part of being on the Bob Sullivan Show?
The NBA stuff. I like talking NBA with you. Yeah, that's definitely been the most fun I had is when we break down obscure NBA headlines and what's going on, for sure.
Yeah, we usually get into a lengthy discussion about that doesn't matter in the NBA, like whether I think one time we discussed whether how good Alex English actually was, and that was not a conversation that ever needed to be done.
No, that's the fun stuff, and yeah.
The worst thing about being on my show.
The British lady who introduces us. I don't like her voice.
Yeah, I got to get rid of the British lady. She, I tried to figure out how to get rid of that on this end, but no dice so far.
Her voice, it's over the top, and I don't know. Just you gotta try to figure that one out, Bob, in the next 4 years.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming on for the 4th year. I appreciate you being on over the last 2.5 years or so, and hope to have you on again soon so we can have one of those lengthy discussions about meaningless NBA stuff.
Yeah, let's talk NBA soon. You give me the time and place.
Sounds good, Mike. I appreciate it.